Hey, I'm Spinny Chad, and you may remember in a recent video, Jebediah Kerman ran out of fuel on Laythe while flying around his World War II jet fighter. And we're coming back for him. We're using another Archangel. You may remember that from another recent video. But this one's got something special under its sleeve. I won't be able to show you until we get to Minmus, which is where we're heading right now. We're going to get to orbit first and then refuel at Minmus, because this baby has a full refuel set up in the cargo bay. We got drills, we got ISRU, we got all of it. So theoretically, that gives this SSTO unlimited range. Like, we can just refuel, and keep going. As you see, we're doing a pretty spicy ascent there. Getting all circularized. And we're in orbit. Here I am using Astrogator to get a encounter with Minmus. Doing the Minmus encounter burn and burning off the last of the oxidizer that I have. Actually, I'm pretty sure it gives more Delta V to burn off your oxidizer fuel with the rapiers before you switch to nerves. And we're just lining it up. I think I had to redo the encounter there because we were flying by the Mon, which was kind of messing everything up. Several nerve burns that took there. And coasting our way to Minmus. Minmus is kind of perfect for a rig like this because the low gravity and everything lets you refuel there easily and then go out farther into the solar system. Now, we won't be using our Minmus refuel station simply because this has to refuel several times, so I had to take everything with me. Here you can see some of the gear. We've got emergency parachutes. We've got a nuclear reactor unit there. That's stock, but I like to make it like a green color and everything with a mod that I have. We've got everything we need: radiators, ISRU, and then we've got a little quarantine tank for Jeb when we get in. Because, I mean, he's been sitting on Laythe for like 5 years. God only knows what he's picked up. And then then we're just landing pretty awkwardly because you're landing a plane on a moon with no atmosphere. Do a little tail touch and a rotate over. And boom. And you may notice there's a second cargo bay, and that one's flipped upside down, and that's where our drills are. Don't mind the part clipping of the doors. It's kind of hard to avoid. And so we got a little engineering section back there. It's a little Mark II land, or whatever the Mark lander is. A little Mark II lander can, I think it's called. And that's where our engineers are going to be hanging out. And it's got a little thing that you can get the Kerbals in and out with. And the drills are back there. Fill up our mono propellant. And I'm going to give a little bit of oxidizer. Just a little bit. Give us a boost. There's how much Delta V we got from the refuel. Now, when I launched, the wings and stuff weren't filled up. But now every single tank on this is completely filled up. The wings, the back little tail fins there are completely fueled up. Everything has liquid fuel in it. So all fueled up, we got like 6,000 Delta V, almost, which get you pretty much anywhere. And we're taking off almost like Minmus has an atmosphere, but I'm just using that little hill basically to get a run and go. And pretty difficult to take a plane off from a non-atmospheric body. There's a beautiful shot of Kerbal in the background. And then we're setting up our maneuver to Joule. Do most of the burn in Minmus orbit, and then do the rest once we actually get out of Minmus orbit. Because Minmus doesn't really provide much of a Delta V boost by burning close to it, so it doesn't really make much of a difference. And we got the encounter there. And we're going to start burning. And this is a pretty long burn. First part's pretty short, and then the second I think is almost 2,000 Delta V. Because I'm kind of just like forcing an encounter. Not exactly the most efficient, but I like just getting there in time You can see I'm fine-tuning the transfer to Joule, making sure we're going in the same. There's a tip. Always make sure when you get to Joule, you're going in the same direction as the moons go around Joule. Otherwise, you're going to have a difficult time at visiting any of the moons because they're flying at you at the same speed that you're flying at them. So, kind of hard to land on them unless you've got a ton of delta V to switch your orbit around. Okay, now we're just going to do a very standard, just capture into Joule, bring my apoapsis down to Laythe's orbit, and then try to get an encounter with Laythe, which I thought would be... I'm all the time running into Laythe when I go to Joule with a probe or anything, so I thought I could just get it down there to Joule's orbit and I would get one, so I go around and around and around. I'm like, okay, this isn't working. So I mess around a little bit with the orbit and I finally get one. Now we have to get a almost like a polar approach here, because we're going to get into a polar orbit around Laythe, because whenever Jeb ran out of fuel in his Me-262, he was trying to get to the North Pole. So that's where he's crashed at, and so we gotta somehow land at the North Pole for him. He's also in water, which is going to make this a lot more difficult than normal. And there we're captured in a pretty high orbit, so we're going to circularize that and bring it down a lot. You can see up at the North Pole of Laythe, that's Jeb's ship there, his Me-262. Some cool shots orbiting Laythe. Absolutely beautiful with the even scatterer on. I love it. Then we're bringing down our periapsis to just within the atmosphere, trying to aim kind of for Jeb, but we're just wanting to land on land first. Here I am moving some fuel around to make sure that my nose heavy still, because this entire plane is filled with fuel. The re-entry is going pretty good, but here things get a little bit crazy when I'm trying to flip it down. The reason I'm going in upside down is to try to lower my point of impact, I guess you could call it, my landing spot, down to a more reasonable place, and then I lose control. If you're not trying to aim for a certain place, this thing can have a really nice re-entry, but I was trying to push it and ended up with this. I finally, though, after many attempts, get control of it. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about these clouds, but these clouds always freak me out. Especially on the North Pole, they're concentrated there constantly with Eve, and it's just such a thick cloud layer, and once you get in it, you can't see anything. It's really cool and scary at the same time, because you don't know what you're heading into. And then, boom, you're out of it. And there's a little island up here on the North Pole, and we're going to pick that as our little landing spot, because you might notice we've only got 400 delta V with the rapiers in air breathing mode there, and we're quite a ways from Jeb. We're going to need a lot of fuel to get him out of there and get back on land and everything, so we're going to do a quick like half refuel of all of our tanks here. And I love the way it looks at North Pole. It's kind of constantly a sunset. Pretty nice landing. You see Joule in the background there. Turning the brakes up. I like to land with the brakes very low and then turn them up to stop. I should really start setting that to an action group. And then give you a little look at all of our crew here. We've got way too many engineers just to boost our RU capabilities. This is a mod called I forgot. I'll put the name here somewhere. But it gives you cool little cameras like that, so you can do kind of realistic camera shots. And here I'm doing a asymmetric thrust to turn it around, because this thing sucks at turning. And where we're turning around to, now that we've refueled, is toward Jeb. The best I can. There you can see the little green box, that's Jeb. And the big green planet is Joule. Very beautiful through the clouds like that. We are burning it up, going like past Mach 1 at one point there. Trying to get a Jeb, and we're not landing on the land here, we're just getting down real low so we can come into a very gradual water landing. We are going to have to do a little bit of boat stuff to get there. Because this isn't only a SSTO, it's a jet-powered boat, I guess, too. And after like 20 minutes of boating out there, we finally make it to Jeb's landing spot, which is conveniently placed close enough to land until we don't have to go too far back. But you'll see the land provided its own issues. And there's Jeb. He's been chilling out in there for 5 years. What's he been doing? And we have to get him on the left side because I'm about to reveal the coolest trick behind this SSTO. The Robo Arm. Please pay no attention to the fireworks cannon. That's just in case things got messy. So here I am manually controlling the the Robo Arm, which took quite a while to get it out there. We got servos, we got pistons, we got everything you can imagine, and a cannon. Once again, ignore the cannon, please. I'm not trying to kill Jeb. It was just for disassembly purposes. And then bringing it out there, and we got the good old Grabomatic Gravitron. What's it called? Advanced Grabbing Unit. That's it. Junior. And I thought for sure it would reach far enough to just grab right there at the cockpit, but no. So I have to do some fiddling around with it and getting it lined up with the cockpit. Took way longer than it should have. It's just bobbing crazy. But finally, after some messing around, I lower it down and boom, we've got it. And cool thing, we can transfer Jeb now. A quick save because that took forever. Because Jeb can just crawl through that tiny pipe apparently into the ship. And we transferred Jeb to the little quarantine unit there, which he'll stay in by himself because you don't want to be spreading all these Laythe ocean things that he might have picked up to the rest of the crew. That's at least my idea behind it. And then we're just folding it back up and stowing it away, locking everything up. Totally not clipping a few things there at all. Not at all. And something I ran into with this, I just remembered, and a little tip for anyone building. There's Jeb, by the way. Sitting pretty in there. He's got plenty of snacks, plenty of room to stretch his legs. But anyway, a tip is this plane used to have, and in my last video I did with this SSTO, it used to be, the root part used to be the cargo bay. Never make your root part the cargo bay on SSTOs like this, because it causes all the stuff in the cargo bay to have drag and act on it as if it weren't in a cargo bay. A little tip there. So here we are at land. And my idea is, since the land at the North Pole isn't gradual, it's like a sharp cliff. I found the lowest part and I'm like, I brought along these emergency Separatrons and I'm just going to attach them to the front is my idea. And since I can't reach this back compartment that I stored them, I put them here for storage. And so I could walk up to the front and then put them with the rest of the Separatrons that I just placed to lift the nose up onto land. But as you can see, our engineer, she falls in the water. So we're just left with all those Separatrons back there. So this is gradually devolving into absolute madness. So I'm like, okay, screw it. And then accidentally activate the parachutes, then Separatrons in the back and everything. Then I try using the asymmetric thrust to like waddle my way up there like a drunken walrus. And then somehow, by some miracle, after blowing up several things that we didn't need anyway, you'll see I gradually make it onto land. And also I love how our engineer there, she's just sitting out in the water while there's jet engines going off over her head, and at one point pointing directly at her. No problem. And then after waddling around on the shoreline, we finally actually get it up there, as you can see. Pull all the landing gear back up, and then boom. In real life, this took like an hour, I think. Because I did several retries of that. And then, here we go, trying to get her up, which for some reason it wanted to act like she was hitting a brick wall before she even got to the shore, which made no sense. So we had to gradually inch her there, little by little by little. Sped up like 8 times. And then finally, though, going to that one lowest part that the water's sweeping over. There she gets over top of the little cliff sometime. Yep, there. Get a little climb button, and that helped her get up. Lesbos, I think is her name. Lesbos. And then she's going to get in the little engineer compartment, which is just handy to get Kerbals in and out of this. Got a little ladder and everything. And now we got to do our final refueling before orbit. It's not really our final refueling, but our last one on Laythe. And we're going to get out another engineer and clean things up a little bit because we got Separatrons stuck all over this, which are not going to be great for atmospheric drag. We're just cleaning everything up, throwing it off of there. Some stuff's exploding, but that's normal. It's Kerbal Space Program. And I noticed quickly while I'm doing this that there's a little parachute, because we accidentally activated the emergency parachutes. And it's stuck over here on the wing. And I'm checking to make sure that none of the stuff that blew up was essential. And it's stuck over here on the wing, so I'm like, okay, I gotta get another Kerbal, because the more engineers you have out, the more they can lift, if it says that your Kerbal can't lift something. That's why I brought so many engineers with me, in case we need to do extreme remodeling. But it still can't lift it. So I go and like take a break, get some coffee or something, and while I'm gone, it just drops off, because apparently these guys know the force. And so we load them back up, refuel everything, retract the ladders, close the bays. Oh wait, we haven't got the drills out yet. So now we refuel everything. Now it's got to be really careful with this refueling, because you don't want to completely load it with fuel. I'm actually shooting for a certain like tonnage. I think the max takeoff weight to be an SSTO with this is like 202 tons, something like that, is the stock weight for it. So I pull out Kerbal Engineer and making sure I've got the right mass and everything. And after burning off some fuel and doing a few other things, we got it at 202 tons, which is the target weight. And take her off. I think I also had to do some like center of mass balancing, which is kind of hard when you can't actually see the center of mass. And I'm not going to talk through this, because I think this is absolutely beautiful, the ascent. How's that for getting Jeb installed right there? So here we are burning out to a pretty high Joule orbit. And then we're going to correct our inclination, raise our periapsis a little bit, and get an encounter with a pole. And again, I'm using Astrogator to get that encounter. I like that a lot. There's a stock version of that, basically, but Astrogator's just like one button. That's it. Sometimes it's very inaccurate, though. I ran into some trouble trying to get an encounter with Kerbin on the way back here. But pole's going to be our final refuel. I could probably make it back to Kerbin with the fuel I've got, but I just wanted to be safe. I mean, you don't want to run into a whole nother disaster. I'm thinking, you know, realistically, they've just got Jeb here. He's been stranded for years. They're going to be as safe as possible. They don't want to lose any crew or be stranded in space. There we are, landing down on a pole. Got a little bit more thrust to weight on landing and takeoff than on Minimus because pole's a little bit smaller. And this is the same procedure as before. Pull the drills, open the bays, pull the drills out. Start surface harvest. And then start the ISRU, and then time warp. But this time we're going to put a little flag down. This is like, why not? Because even though this is sandbox, I think it's fun to do some side stuff occasionally. Plus, I'm going to be using this exact save. That's what we're getting Jeb back, actually. I'm going to be using this exact save to do some, like, colonizing of the different planets and stuff like that. I'm wanting to do a big mission after this to a very special planet with rings. And here I am, thinking I could just use the reaction wheels on this and stuff to get it pointing straight up, but I still have to do some bouncing around, nearly hitting rocks, and finally getting it pointing straight up the way it needs to be. Almost hit a mountain too. So now we have 6,000 Delta V, because we didn't, we forgot, forwent the oxidizer. We didn't bring any oxidizer. We're just gonna go full nerve power, and that really great, like, 1 thrust to weight ratio around pole. So this was an exceptionally long burn. This is to get the Kerbal encounter. And finally, after burning and burning and burning, we get Kerbal encounter, and then I miss it. Have to turn around and get it again. Common occurrence with me. I'm a big Delta V waster. And then you can see Kerbal just coming into view right there. Kerbal in the mun. And this is going to be one hell of a deceleration burn around Kerbal. Gonna start it pretty early and I still end up overshooting Kerbal. But look at that beautiful blue planet right there. I bet Jeb is very happy to see home again. Yeah, like I said, this is a hell of a deceleration here. End up overshooting by quite a lot, and this probably wasn't the most efficient way to do it, but I mean, my god, I have 3,000 Delta V at this point, so I can afford it. So we end up getting like a crash course, and I have to raise my periapsis, and then we do some circularization, no aero braking. Keep going around doing some circularization on each pass. And what we're going to aim for is a KSC landing. And I think I've done like 3 KSC landings before. The last one was with this one. One before that was in a non-recorded save. So I'm kind of a greenhorn at it. So we've got a good lineup just by complete accident with the KSC there. And what you want to do, and I'm no expert at it, but you want to overshoot it because the atmosphere is going to slow you down. And I've got it in a re-entry mode. If you ever see me pointing prograde, but I'm kind of pointing up, that's the re-entry mode. You just take a probe core and adjust it until it's at an angle for re-entry. And whenever I go upside down, it lowers my point of impact. And whenever I aim up, it heightens my point of impact. Another realistic re-entry there. The going upside down really doesn't work with this, and I shouldn't have tried it. But you live, you learn. I had a hell of a time getting control of this, and finally did. Push some fuel to the nose to make it a little bit more nose heavy, because it was feeling like it was a bit tail heavy. It's hard to get the COM right when you're moving so much fuel around and refueling this over and over again. But after a 8-year-long journey, the KSC is almost in sight. Screaming our way across the Kerbal Ocean there. I think I just named that. Making sure our landing gear are in good shape and the brakes are set right and everything. Don't want to do like a dead stop when we get there. So coming in pretty low, because I'm very much a rookie at landing on the runway. And then realizing I'm way, way off. And coming around. And we get almost a dead on land on the runway, but we do at least land on the runway this time. This is first try too, so pretty good. And we skid out. I was hoping to make it to the hangar, but I forgot that this thing really doesn't like to turn at all. And if you made it this far, maybe think about subscribing to see more missions like this. I'm going to be sending some colonies to Saturn in the next video. Maybe video after next. But here you get to see some of the crew. Me making a quick save, yes, in all capitals. I'm gonna get all the crew out and pose for a nice picture. There's our boy, Jebediah Kerman. Probably feels really weird to be back on Kerbal again after 5 years. But there he is. But thanks for watching. Hope you like this. I'll put another video, probably the one before this that I used the Archangel in, right here on the screen. Sub if you want to see more like this. I'm Swinny Chad. I'm out.